Hello friends, and thank you for joining me for a morning in my kitchen. Today is Monday and I decided that I wanted to do some batch cooking. I'm starting off by making a big batch of meat stock for Elliot and I to drink throughout the week. I have a whole video on my page walking you through how I make my meat stock, so I will link that below in the description box, but just to get the gist of it, I take a whole chicken and I cover it a couple inches over with water, and sometimes I add veggies for flavoring like onions, carrots, celery, sometimes herbs, sometimes I just do salt, peppercorn, and bay leaves, and that's what I did today. There's definitely a few different ways that you can make meat stock. But if you want to check out my video where I walk you through it kind of step by step, I will link that in the description box below. So a lot of times when I batch cook, I kind of just look and see what's in my fridge and I pull just about everything out. And if I have veggies, then I will cut, peel, and prep those. I usually just dice them or however I want to cut them up and then put them in large Ziploc bags and then just store that in the fridge so that I can easily access them throughout the week. I cannot tell you how thankful future Liz feels when past Liz has taken the time to prep veggies ahead of time so that I can just pull them out of the fridge when I'm preparing dinner, and it really just makes making dinner so much easier when you've done some of the work ahead of time and you can just quickly saute or roast veggies as a side for your dinner. I just had one cucumber in the fridge and that's not really enough to like do a whole batch of refrigerator pickles, so I just decided to loosely follow the recipe. I did a teaspoon of salt, just a couple sprinkles of dill and pepper. I did about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, just stirred it all around and stuck it in the fridge, and then it was ready to go for dinner that night. I will link a pickle recipe that I love down below in the description box. It is a 24-hour refrigerator pickle and I absolutely love it. The flavor is so delicious and anybody that I have given them to has just really loved them and asked for the recipe, so I'm excited to share that with you guys. So I only had like 4 carrots left in the refrigerator and a couple onions, and I had 1 large butternut squash and a small butternut squash. So I decided to experiment and make a butternut squash soup. And let me tell you what, this was the most delicious and savory soup. You guys have got to try this. I will write out all the instructions and the ingredients in the description box below, but essentially I took 4 carrots, chopped them up, 1 whole onion, chopped it up. I think I did about 3 or 4 cloves, small cloves of garlic, and I cooked all of that on the stovetop with a little bit of water until all the veggies were nice and soft. So after the veggies were cooked, I used my handy dandy immersion blender and just blended them up. You can do it just kind of like halfway so that there's still some bites of carrot, which I thought was really yummy to do it that way so that you still have some texture to your soup. And I sliced in half both of my butternut squash and put those in the oven with a little bit of water in the cookie sheet at around 400 degrees and just roasted them for, I don't know, maybe 30-40 minutes until they were very soft and the tops, like the skin, started to brown. After the butternut squash was roasted, I scraped it into the pan with the carrots and onions and garlic mixture, and then used my immersion blender yet again to blend it all up and make it nice and smooth and creamy. I've made butternut squash soup before and added herbs to it, but this time I just decided I wanted to try doing just salt and pepper and see how that tasted, and it was actually so delicious. So here I added 4 cups of chicken stock. You can use homemade or bought from the store. This is Costco brand that I find is really clean and I really like it for doing soups like this. So I did about 2 teaspoons of salt here and probably about a whole teaspoon of pepper. Later on I think I added more salt. I would say add 2 teaspoons, taste it, add a little bit more at a time if you think it needs more. Don't be shy with the salt. Salt is what makes this recipe so good. And so it can even kind of taste bland and not so great if you don't add enough salt. So I would definitely say do not shy away from adding a good amount of salt. Okay, so I recently came up with this recipe for apple burgers or apple meatballs. They are absolutely delicious. So that's what I am prepping here. I don't even know exactly how many I made. I made a lot of meatballs. But you start out by cutting, peeling, and shredding apples. I think I did about 5 apples here. I didn't need quite all of them. You want to get about 4 cups of apples for this recipe, but you know, you could always half it if you don't want to make quite as many meatballs as I did. I just love making meatballs in bulk because then they just make for such easy lunches or breakfasts or dinners, really. I just love having them on hand because then I can just easily grab some protein, heat it up, or even not heat it up. These are good cold as well. So this is one of my favorite things to do. So I have 4 pounds of meat here. I did 2 pounds of ground beef and 2 pounds of ground pork. If you don't eat pork, you could just do all ground beef and I'm sure it would taste delicious as well. So to my meat, I added the 4 cups of shredded apple and I did about 5 teaspoons of salt. Because this is such a large quantity of meat and it has ground pork, I find that things taste better if you add a little more salt when recipes have ground pork. I also added about a teaspoon of pepper. As you see here, I almost dumped way too much in. But then I also did probably about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic minced. A little tip that I learned actually from a movie that had a chef in it, I forget the name of it, but he had a little bowl of water that he used to dip his fingers in when he was making meatballs. And I just thought that was so genius because the meat can definitely stick to your fingers and it can be kind of annoying when you're making meatballs. So if you keep a little bowl filled with water nearby, then you will not have that problem of the meat sticking to your fingers. All right, so these are the meatballs all rolled. I then put them in the oven at about 375 for, oh gosh, I don't exactly remember, probably 30-ish minutes. You just want to check that the internal temperature is like above 165. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this little morning in the kitchen with me, batch cooking and prepping food for the week. It lasted me about Monday through Wednesday, so I didn't have to cook again until Thursday. I just love cooking this way. Like, I love to cook, I love to recipe create, but having a little 3-year-old who is super high energy, I don't always love cooking every single day. So I love doing things like this to just spend several hours in the kitchen doing the work, and then for the next few days I can just relax and enjoy my days with Elliot and have more time to do other things that I want to do. So I hope this gives you some inspiration in your kitchen. I hope you try the recipes that I made and shared, because they are absolutely delicious and they will for sure be staples for us from here on out. As always, I will have the full recipes and instructions in the description box below, so you can find those there. And in case you're wondering, I am filming in my bathroom. It's the quietest room in the house right now, and Elliot is occupied out in the living room. So this is just real life moment, doing what we gotta do to get this video put together and put out there for you guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you are having a beautiful day. And Lord willing, we will see you next week with another video. Bye.